Hello, welcome to episode 5 of the Datapack tutorials for version 1.21. We're going to do something a bit more interesting. We're going to use a macro to give X amount of items to a player. In fact, what we'll do is we'll also make the item changeable as well. So what exactly does this involve? What's happening? So here I have just a command, scoreboard player set, nearest player, amount. So this is going to change my amount. So it's currently set to 3. I now have 3 on the amount. Okay, and this is set item from player, and that's just running a function. And it's going to look at what item I'm holding. So let's pick our emerald and set the item. And now we've got give. I get 3 extra emeralds. Let's change the amount. Let's change it to 7. Okay, it's already set to emerald. I've got 4, so now I should have 11. Let's change the item. Set it to diamond, because that's the one I'm currently holding, and we give, and it gives me 7. Let's give 77. There's 77 diamonds. Okay, so we're just basically going to make a macro, and it's taking an item as a variable, and it's taking an amount as a variable. The item we are currently setting just from whatever item I'm holding, so let's get green wool, set that as the item. Change the macro to 9, or the amount to 9, run it. Now I've got 9 green wool each time. Okay, that's running the function there. That's what we're going to make. Give yourself a random, well it's not random, give yourself an item that you've currently got selected, X amount, based on your score. I'm not sure if that is the best explanation, but I think you're better off just seeing what I did, to be honest. Anyway, I'm going to take it slow. So it's not too long, don't worry, and hopefully by the end of this you've got a good idea of how to use a macro for simple things. If not yet, obviously ask questions in the comments. Anyway, I'm waffling, aren't I? I do that too much. Let's get on and build it now. Okay, here we are in VS Code, and we've got the basic empty data pack, and you can see that I've removed the tick JSON and the tick MC function because we're not going to be using those. If you're not sure how to get here, watch episode 1. Let's create a new function that gives us one item. So in function, new file, give item. Let's name it something that makes sense. MC function, no capital letters. And I'm just going to give the executor of this function an emerald, and I'm going to give them 1. Save. Cool. Let's go over to Minecraft. Don't forget to do reload. We have reloaded. There we go. Let's pop down a little command block, and we'll use this to run our function. Give. So we'll do function, and there's our give item. Okay, we press done, and we press the button, and we don't get an emerald because the command block is executing the command. And the command block can't give itself an emerald. So we have to change who is executing this. So let's execute as, I'm just going to say the nearest player. Run. So now I am executing the function because I am the nearest player. Done. Press the button. There's my emerald. Okay, that's working. That's a good start. Let's go back to VS Code. If we want to give them a variable amount, we need to store that amount somewhere. So I'm going to store it as a score. This is what we want to change here. So let's go to the load function. And you can see in the load function, I've added scoreboard objectives add amount dummy. So I'm literally just creating a scoreboard called amount when the data pack loads. We can use that scoreboard. Okay, what can we use it for? So we need to copy that score to storage. So I think I'll do that in give item. So here, let's go one above. And we'll say execute store the result into storage. What should we call our storage? I'm going to call it my data, and we'll store it into amount as an integer, and we'll times it by 1. So any number times by 1 is going to be the same. We will run, and then we need to get the score. So scoreboard players get from the person executing the command, which is me, amount. Okay, so let's save that and let's see what that does. So back we go. Just remember to reload. See if we can do that every time. Okay, so let's do storage. That's not going to work. Let's do data get from storage. We have no storage. Okay, so let's press the button to run the function. It's given me the emerald. We knew it would do that. And now let's do data get from storage. Now my data exists. Let's have a look at it. It's got an amount of 0. Okay, well, it's not using that score yet. Let's give myself a score. Let's say scoreboard. Let's do it as a command in a command block so we can press it whenever we want. We'll say change amount. Scoreboard, players, set the nearest player, so me. We'll set the amount. Let's set it to something like 3. 3. Done. And let's press that button. Press. Now let's run this and see what happens. We still get the 1 emerald. Let's get the data from storage and see what's in there now. Now 3's in there. Great. Cool. So as I change my score, we're going to be changing what's in the storage. Let's go back. Here we are. Okay, so we've got 3 stored in that amount there. And we're giving the emerald. Now, we are going to have to move this command into our macro. So let's make another function. So give item. Let's make another function, new file. We'll call this one give item macro.mc function. And I'm going to get my give emerald. I'm going to cut it from there. We'll save that one. And I'm going to paste it in there. And we'll save that one. Now, back here in give item, this is the function we are running with that command block. Let's do function give item macro. Save. Okay, so when we run give item, it's going to store our amount into storage, and then it's going to run give item macro, and that's still only going to give us 1 though. Okay, let's adjust it so it gives us the amount of items we've got stored in our scoreboard. So at the end here, we're going to function give item macro, and we're going to run it with storage my data. Okay, so we are passing to that function my data, and inside my data is the amount, so we can use that. So let's do Control S. Now if we run this now, we shouldn't really see any change. So let's do a reload. I've remembered every time, quite happy. Let's change our number to, let's say 5. Let's give ourselves the item. Okay, we've got the 1 item. Let's look at data storage. And only 3 is stored in there. That's interesting. Why is it only stored 3? Let's go back. And see if we can find out why it's only stored 3. It looks correct. Yeah, and it definitely ran it because it then ran this command and ran that command. Okay, let's do scoreboard, objectives, set display, sidebar, amount. It says 3. So let's press that button. There we go. Now it says 5. I think I just didn't press the button, did I? Okay, now if we run the give command, we've still got our 1 emerald. We'll check the data. The data's saying 5. Okay, I think I just didn't press the button. Let's remove that from the sidebar because we don't need to see that. Cool. We're getting there slowly. I don't want to go too fast. Let's go back. So we are saving our amount. We are then running the give item macro with my data from storage. So let's go into here. With the line we want to change. So first thing we're going to do is put a $ sign at the front. And that's going to say this line is going to use information from storage my data. Okay, what information do we want to change? We want to change this 1. And in here we will put a $sign again, open and close brackets, and we're going to use the amount. Okay, so $sign at the beginning to say this line will be using information from whatever was passed to me, my data. And what information we're going to use? We're going to use my data amount. So we should be putting a number 5 in there. Let's save this and we will go back and we'll reload every time. So now if I press this, let's get rid of my emeralds. I've got no emeralds. Let's press this. I've got 5 emeralds. That seemed to work. Let's change how much this gives. Let's say 50. Press that. Now I press this. Now I've got 55 emeralds. Definitely working. So all we have to do is change our scoreboard value. Let's give ourselves 2. And then we run the function. It gives me 2. Perfect. So we have already a very simple macro, which is giving us the amount of items based on our score. Let's keep going. Let's add some more stuff. What else can we add? Let's change the item. Let's make a button here. The command block, and we'll set item. Actually, we'll set item from player. Done. Okay, let's go and create a new function. So function, new file, and we'll call this set item, and it will be a MC function. Right, let's set this item. What can we set it to? Let's do data modify storage my data, and last time we called it amount, will just make sense to call this item. We will set the value. I'm going to set the value to Minecraft gold block. Okay. Now that's not going to make any difference yet, because in our give item function, or our give item macro function, we're still hard-coded emerald. So what we'll do is we'll take away emerald and we'll do our little, we're going to use some data from storage. So we'll have our $sign. And what data are we going to use? We're going to use the item. So now we have $sign. Yes, I'm using stuff from the storage, or I'm using stuff that's being passed to me, and I'm going to use the whatever's in item, and I'm going to use whatever's in amount. Save. Let's go back to game. We'll run this as the player anyway. Execute as the nearest player. Run function. Now, what have we done? We have no set item because we did finally remember. I did finally forget, rather, to run reload. And there it is, set item. Okay, so if I press this, amount to, ooh, okay, nothing's happening. Do we have everything there? Yeah, give item macro, but I'm not getting an item, am I? Why am I not getting an item? Well, let's have a look at our storage. Data, get, storage, my data. We haven't saved the item into my data yet. So it's going, well, I want to give them the item that's stored in my data, but there is no item in my data, so we better set the item. Okay, now let's have a look at my storage. And we've got amount to item Minecraft gold block. Okay, so I'm expecting 2 gold blocks. And now we can change the number if we want. Let's say 25. And now I'm expecting 25 gold blocks. Cool. So that's pretty nice. That's one way we can do it. Let's go back. And let's go to our set item function. So here we can obviously change that to whatever we want. Let's make it a bit more interesting. Let's comment out this one. There we go. And I'm going to copy the beginning bit. And I'm going to modify the storage my data item, but I'm going to set from an entity the person, so let's say at S, the person executing that command, and remember we did execute as P, so it's me. What do we want to set it to? Let's say selected item, but we need the selected item's ID, S. Okay. So whatever I'm holding when I press the button should go into item. And then we run give item, and that gives the my data to the give item macro, and the macro pulls the item out. Let's try that. So let's change the number to something a bit smaller. Let's do 3. And I'm holding a lever, so let's set the item from player. No, let's do reload. Let's set the item from player. So I should now be getting levers. I am indeed getting 3 levers. Let's set the item using the button. Now I've got buttons. What about if I do command block? Now I'm getting command blocks. Cool. Okay. Now we've got a macro where we can change what item it gives and how many items it gives. Let's go back. Right. I want to tidy this up a little bit actually. If I keep putting all my files into this function directory, if I'm making a normal Datapack, I'm probably going to end up with quite a few things. So I'm going to get in function, I'm going to make a new folder and I'm going to call it macro test. And then I'm going to get my give item macro, my give item MC function and my set item. So I'm just holding control while I'm selecting them, and I'm going to drag them all in there. Yes, please move them in there. Now, when I'm not playing around with macro test, I can shrink that down. It's much tidier. That's nice. But I've broken it now. If I go to give item, you can see, because I've got Datapack helper and I've got my syntax function, they are warning me that this is not a valid link anymore. I've moved my function into macro test. So let's go here. Macro test. There we go. In fact, you can see it's already suggesting, thanks to Datapack helper extension. Now that should work. That seems okay. Have we moved anything else? An easy way to find out is let's just go back and reload. Let's set it to signs and let's see if we get 3 signs. We didn't. So we've got a problem. We haven't changed everything. Now what we haven't changed, let's have a look. I'll tell you what we haven't changed. It's actually in Minecraft. What we haven't changed is we haven't changed this. It's still calling set item, but we moved it. There we go. We moved it into macro test. Set item. Done. And this one will now be macro test. Give item. Done. And this one is just changing the score. So now we can set the item. And now we can give ourselves the item. That's a bit tidier. Okay, let's go back. So we can shrink that down to hide it when we're not looking at it. That's nice. Something else I like to do is I like to have an unload function. So let's go function, new file, unload, unload MC function. And in here, I like to clean up everything that my Datapack does. So for instance, in load, we're making an objective. Okay, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to go to my unload. And in unload, I'm going to remove that. 1, 2, 3, remove. Save. Okay, let's go back. And we'll do a reload. So at the moment, let's do scoreboard list. That's not how you do it. Scoreboard objectives list. And there's my one objective that my Datapack has created. But also we have data get from storage my data. So we also have my data with an amount in it and an item with it. So if I remove this data pack, I'm going to have all this junk left over. So what I like to do with my unload function, so we remove amount, and let's also do data remove from storage my data, and I want to remove the amount. And in fact, let's just do a copy of that, copy. And I want to move the item. Done, and I'm going to save that. Now, when you've only got 3 things, it doesn't take long to get rid of them. But if you, let's say you had 50 different scoreboard objectives, then just being able to run one function to unload them all, or clean it all up, is very nice. So let's go back to the world. Let's do a reload, and let's pretend I'm going to remove my data pack. Before I remove it, I will do function unload. Now, if we list the scoreboards, we have none. And if we do a data check, we have none. Let's have a look. My data, none. So I've cleaned up all the junk that my data pack added to the world. Obviously, you don't have to add that if you don't want to. I just think it's handy for testing and stuff. I don't know why I do it. It's useful. I think we're done. Yeah. In fact, actually, let's just make this a little bit clearer. Let's get this I have loaded. Control copy. And I'm going to put that at the end of my unload. I have unloaded. There we go. We'll save that. So we've got the cleanup. We've got our load function, which is creating our amount scoreboard. Then we have a set item, and we either, I've commented this one out, so this isn't running. So we either set it to something we pick ourselves, or we're setting it from the player's or the executor's selected item. And then we can run the give item, and that saves our score into storage. So now in storage we have item and amount. We will pass my data to the give item macro. And in give item macro, we're saying $, yes, I'm going to use something that you've passed me. And then here, what am I going to use? I'm going to use an item. And here, I'm going to use the amount. We've made a very simple macro. I know it's a very long video just for making a little simple macro, but I think that should give you a pretty good idea. They're not hard to do once you've seen it done slowly. And they're very, very useful. You see, we could pass anything into that. Any commands, we can just pass stuff in. There's your simple basic one. Let's pop back to Minecraft. Okay, let's reload, although we didn't make any changes that time. Let's do function unload. That's going to clean it all up for the next tutorial I make, which is very handy in this case. I don't have to delete everything. And I will wave at you if I remember how. Bye bye, take care, and I'll see you soon. Cheerio.